Everton have had many great players, including the likes of Duncan Ferguson, Wayne Rooney and Gary Lineker, but perhaps their greatest ever player is centre forward Dixie Dean. Dean played for Everton from 1925 to 1937, scoring an astonishing 383 goals in 433 games for the Toffees, as well as 18 goals in 16 appearances for England. To date, he remains by a country mile Everton's all-time top scorer. This is the story of Dixie Dean, Everton's greatest ever player. William Ralph Dean was born in Birkenhead on the 22nd of January 1907. As an 11-year-old, he voluntarily decided to join a ball stall, owing to the fact they had better footballing facilities available. While still at school, he had a job helping the local milkman early in the morning 7 days a week, which allowed him to build muscle and improve his physique. He attended his first Everton game shortly before the league was suspended in World War I. He acquired the nickname Dixie sometime during his youth, although reports of the origins of his name vary. After leaving school aged 14, he spent time working for Wirral Railway. He had dazzled people with his footballing ability in his youth, and football had become his true passion. He signed for Pensby and played for them until he was 16, where he would then move to 3rd Division side Tranmere Rovers. He made 3 appearances in his first season for the side, but failed to find the net. He would go on to impress the next season, however, scoring 27 goals in 30 games. Clubs in the top tier were impressed and wished to sign him, with the likes of Arsenal and Newcastle showing interest, but there was only one club that Dean wished to sign for. Dean signed for Everton for a fee of £3,000 in 1925, shortly after he turned 18. Dean was so excited that upon hearing of the meeting to discuss the transfer, he ran over 2 miles to the hotel where the meeting was taking place. Dean was not instantly integrated into the Everton first team, but after he scored 7 goals in a reserve game, it was his time to shine. He made his first team debut against Arsenal in March 1925 and finished that season with 5 goals in 7 appearances. His first full season followed, and he truly came to life. In the 1925-1926 season, Dixie Dean scored 33 goals in 40 games across all competitions. It was remarkable for such a young man, but soon after, disaster struck. In the summer of 1926, Dean had gone to North Wales with his girlfriend. The two went out on his motorbike, but were involved in a collision. Whilst Dean's girlfriend was unscathed, Dixie Dean suffered injuries to both his jaw and skull. Whilst in hospital, Dean was told by doctors he would never play football again. It was horrific. Dean's dreams had died before they'd even properly begun. Or so it seemed. Whilst he was recuperating, Dean was spotted climbing an apple tree to collect fruit for the staff and patients of the hospital. A doctor witnessed this and said that if Dean was able to do that, he could certainly go back to training for Everton. And that is exactly what Dixie Dean did. Only 15 weeks after the accident, he was back, donning the blue jersey. And he proved his ability hadn't been affected at all, scoring 24 goals in 31 games for the Blues. It was around this time that he was called up for international duty, and he netted an astonishing 12 goals in his first 5 international games. Dean's recovery had been remarkable, but his best was yet to come. Dean started the next season in just as impressive form, scoring 23 goals in his 30 games, including 5 in a match against Manchester United. Middlesbrough forward George Camsell had scored 59 goals for his club in the 2nd Division the season before, which was a record for a Football League team. Dean had some challenge to face if he was to break this record, but he was going about it the right way. Dean continued to put the ball in the net time and time again, and was drawing huge crowds to Goodison to see the man in action. With 13 games left, Dean was 17 goals shy of Camsell's record. He had to be in fine form even by his standards if he were to break it. Everton had overtaken Huddersfield at the top of the table, and a 3-1 win over Sheffield United took Dean to 50 goals. With 4 matches to go, he needed to score 10 times. Everton defeated Newcastle 3-0, with Dean scoring 1 of the goals, before he netted twice in a 4-2 win against Aston Villa. Whilst Dean was continuing his scoring run, he needed a miraculous 7 goals in 2 games, but in the next match against Burnley, Dean scored an astonishing 4 goals in a 5-3 win. The game did have its downside, however. Dean was injured in the match, and in the days of no substitutes, spent a great deal of the second half hobbling around the pitch. Everton trainer Harry Cook spent a great deal of the next week with Dean to ensure he could partake in the final game and have the chance to break the record. A huge crowd was expected to attend Goodson Park to try and see him make history. But whatever was to happen, Dean had achieved a more significant milestone. Second place Huddersfield had lost their game midweek, and so Everton were the league champions whatever the case, and Dean had won his first major honour. Everton would face Arsenal on the final day, with Dean needing a hat-trick to reach 60 goals and break the record. Arsenal took the lead, but almost instantly Dixie Dean levelled with a long-range shot. It was goal number 58 for Dean and goal number 100 of the season for Everton. In the second half, with Dixie Dean still pushing, he was brought down in the box. The referee pointed to the spot, whilst the crowd screamed, "Give it to Dixie." Dean would indeed take the penalty, and he struck it home. Goal number 59. Dean had equalled the record, and he was one goal away from taking it for himself. Arsenal would equalise to send the sides in level 2-2 at half-time. The Gunners tried to ploy an offside trap to make sure Dean couldn't break through again. With only 5 minutes to go, Everton had a corner. Alec Troop would swing the ball into the box, and the man on the end of it needed no introduction. Dixie Dean pulled his favourite party trick of a bullet header, and the ball was in. Goal number 60. Dixie Dean had broken the record, and Goodison went wild. Aged only 21, he had cemented himself in the history books. Arsenal would equalise to make the game 3-3, but it mattered little at this point. The final whistle went, and Everton were presented with the First Division title. Dixie Dean had scored 60 goals in 39 league games. Dean had become a huge icon and was even offered the chance to play in America as a result, but he said that he would not leave Everton for any price. Baseball legend Babe Ruth was once in London and insisted he met Dixie Dean so that he could shake the Everton striker's hand. He continued his impressive form the next season, scoring 2 hat-tricks in his first 2 games, but had issues of injury, so could not meet his previous tally. The fact that he finished an injury-laden season with 27 goals is a testament to his abilities. Amazingly, despite Dean's 23 goals, Everton were relegated the next season. Any fears for the club, however, were laid to rest, with Dean scoring 41 goals to grant Everton an immediate return to the top flight. Everton would then go on to astonishingly recapture the First Division in their first season back. Dean's 47 goals in all competitions, including a hat-trick at Anfield, took him to over 200 career goals, aged only 23. Everton had been astonishing as a whole, even winning 9-1 against Sheffield Wednesday and 8-1 against Newcastle. But there was one major trophy that still eluded Dean, the FA Cup. Everton were keen to take the trophy back home and formed an impressive run. Dean scored in every round as Everton made their way to the final, including a 6-0 win over Luton. Everton would face Manchester City, and the Toffees were aiming to win a famous cup for the first time since 1906. Everton had disappointed in the league, finishing a measly 10th, even with Dean netting 24 league goals. It was to be the first FA Cup final with numbered jerseys, and fittingly, Dixie Dean wore number 9, the perfect number for a centre-forward. Dean led his team out onto the Wembley turf as captain. Manchester City started brightly, but Everton soon began to dominate them. James Steen gave Everton the lead on the 41st minute. In the second half, a ball was played into the box, and City goalkeeper Len Landford failed to catch it. Dean, in classic poacher style, pounced and made the score 2-0. James Dunn made it 3-0 with 10 minutes left. Dixie Dean had captained his boyhood side to an FA Cup victory. Dean walked up the famous steps and proudly held the trophy aloft. He had done so many incredible things in his young career, and this was the cherry on top. When Everton returned to Merseyside, over 50,000 people crowded the station to welcome their heroes home. Everton paraded the trophy through the streets, and Dean was reduced to tears of joy as the crowd showed their gratitude. Dean would reach 300 career goals at the age of 26, but sadly faced more issues of injuries. He had to undergo an ankle operation that left him out for 2 months. Dean continued to notch impressive scoring tallies over the next few years, but would not capture any more silverware. In 1939, Dean played his last game for the Toffees, and the physical demands of the game were starting to take their toll on him. He was sold to Notts County and would also go on to play for Sligo Rovers and Hurst. Sadly, he still struggled with injury at these clubs and would retire from football. He left Everton with a tally of 383 goals in 433 games. No Everton player since has ever come close to meeting this tally. He would go on to work at a pub and betting pools after leaving the game. Sadly, the end of his life was not a pleasant one. At one point, he was hospitalised for influenza, and in 1974, his wife of 43 years, Ethel, died of a heart attack. Dean had to have his right leg amputated in 1976 due to a blood clot and was largely homebound in his final years. Dixie Dean died of a heart attack on the 1st of March 1980 after watching his beloved Everton face Liverpool at Goodison Park. He passed away at his beloved stomping ground, having been away for many years. Many tributes were paid to Dean upon his death, including Bill Shankly, a man who had shared lunch with Dean on the day that the striker passed away. At Dean's funeral, Shankly stated, "Dixie was the greatest centre-forward there will ever be. His record of goal scoring is the most amazing thing under the sun. He belongs in the company of the supremely great, like Beethoven, Shakespeare and Rembrandt." Dixie Dean's ashes were scattered on the halfway line at Goodison Park. To this day, Dean's record of 60 league goals in a season stands strong, and there doesn't seem to be any signs of a player breaking it. When asked about the possibility of the record being broken, Dean remarked, "People ask me if that 60-goal record will ever be beaten. I think it will, but there's only one man who will do it. That's the fella who walks on water. I think he's about the only one." In 2001, a statue of Dixie Dean was placed outside Goodison Park. For all the great moments and players Everton have seen in their long and proud history, Dixie Dean surely tops all of them. His goal-scoring record was phenomenal, and he led his boyhood side to 2 league titles and an FA Cup with this incredible tally. The man will forever remain a deity on the blue side of Stanley Park.